So I'm Pippa Wardman and my quilt is called Taj Mahal at Sunset. Well, the theme was 40 years, one moment, and visually, immediately, I remembered visiting the Taj Mahal and going through the arch. It had been a really wet day and we didn't think we were going to be able to see the Taj Mahal, and then suddenly the rain stopped, the sun came out and we legged it into the Taj Mahal. And I found India, I wasn't very good at coping with it, and I just felt so alone at that moment. I thought, I wish my husband was here to see this because it was so beautiful. And I had my compact camera with me, so I took several photos, and one of them was this with the Taj Mahal bathed in the setting sun, so it cast this orange glow onto the Taj Mahal, and it's an image I'd always wanted. I've never framed it or printed it, and I knew I always wanted to have a quilt of it, and I thought, right. And now I was able to just upload onto the internet, say what size, and 2 days later the fabric dropped through the front door, and that was just wow, because it's actually soft enough to quilt. So initially I used the curve of the Taj Mahal to create, and did a big template, placed it on and chalked up and did a swirly thing. I love doing hand embroidery. So the initial part was, before it was quilted at all, embroidering with 6-stranded cotton. So just lots of train journeys actually, stitching along the lines. I tried to use, the colours recede and get paler up towards the top. I tried to get the idea of the sun coming from the left. And then once I'd done on most of the hand embroidery, not all, some I added once I then created the actual quilt, sandwiched the quilt and just started going for it. And I don't really plan, so I hadn't actually intended. Once I'd got going, of course, then it starts rippling and then you realise I'm going to have to quilt the entire thing. But I got more and more nervous as I realised I really loved the quilt, and so I started to tense up. I kept having to relax myself. It took 2 days, I think, to do the calligraphy, just the calligraphy, because every letter is start and stop, and of course it's written. I stitched it in the same direction as I think it had been written. You can sort of see how the guy must have actually created those letters. I've always sewed, and usually without any sort of a plan. About 25 years ago, I think, I took a class with Dawn, Cameron, Dick, and I think that's probably the first time that I actually created a quilt. And then since then, on and off, I've just continued, and I'm a member of the Contemporary Quilt Group, and that's inspired. I've done lots of I did the journal quilts, and that got me into much more of the art quilting. My husband, he knows to sort of, and this one, even my husband said, wow. But there are other ones where he knows to wait and say, what am I supposed to say about that one? Whereas in my CQ friends are all encouraging, and it doesn't matter if it's a thing or not, and if it's a bit weird, well, it doesn't matter. And when I showed this to the quilt group when it was nearly complete, they were all just like, oh wow, Pippa, it's great, and that was just lovely, really lovely. I'm not sure. For me, it's the tactile nature of the actual physical sewing, and so I have the Q20, and I wanted that. I didn't want to be remote. I wanted to touch. It's actually physically the physical fabric and thread.